Welcome back to Sacred Success Salon, where this time we are speaking to amazing guest experts about the new solutions and new technologies and a new way for humanity that we are creating for the new earth as we keep moving forward. My name is Kowalska. I am your host, and I am really delighted and looking forward to what gets birthed in this conversation with our guest today, Sue Dumais. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
So excited to have you in the salon.
I'm honored to be here with you.
Thank you. So let me just say a few words about who you are so our audience knows who they're listening to. You can learn more about Sue in the bio below the video. So Sue is an evolutionary leader and spiritual mentor for healers, empaths, and highly sensitive people, which is most of our audience because that's who we attract. We attract mostly women who are realizing that they are here for a bigger mission, a purpose, and they recognize that there's something inside of them that has been wanting to be birthed for a long time, and the time is now. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you and asking you, how did you know what your mission was?
Well, it's interesting because the key word being knowing, right? There's a lot of people think they know what their mission is or think they know why they're here. But the key is the knowing in the heart. So we have to get out of our heads and into our heart. So the moment I kind of land in my heart and I feel into my mission, I'm certain about it. Like I can feel it, sense it, know it, live it, breathe it. When I get into my head about it and try to make sense of it, that's usually when it kind of pulls me further away from it. So I always encourage people to get out of their head. And that sounds really easy. It's not always easy, but to get out of their head and into their heart. And the clarity comes from the heart. The knowing comes from that space in the heart that allows us to really sink into the feeling and the knowing what our mission is.
Mm-hmm. How do you, I know it's going to sound like because it sounds so simple, get out of your head, but we are so programmed. And even no matter how much work we do, it's still challenging because as soon as we even know something in the heart, the head comes right in and says, oh, but how do you, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very quick. It's like the heart knowing comes in and then the mind is like, okay, how do we make that happen? What do I need to do? And all that. So for me, my process is I feel it in the heart. I stay with that space for a little bit longer. So it kind of creates more like an imprint or a memory of the feeling of it. And if I focus on the feeling of it more, then the thinking can come later. But really, I often talk about the idea of in society, we're taught to put the head in the driver's seat and let the heart take the passenger seat. Mm-hmm. And I say, let the heart drive and let the mind take the passenger seat, because the mind is actually not meant to be in the lead. It's not meant to figure it out. It's not meant to be in control. And the more and more we shift out of the construct of thinking and figuring things out and analyzing, which has been a lot of how we've been operating and programmed to operate for a long time. We're shifting more and more into frequency. We're shifting more and more into feeling. We're shifting more and more into that deep resonance with what you're being called to do in your heart. And the more we do that, the harder it is to actually stay in the head. And if you are really stuck in the head, the more painful it is, because you're really trying to figure out something that's not figure outable, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to comprehend something that's incomprehensible, because our mission and what we're really here to truly do is not really going to be fully understood at the level of the mind. So first step, get the heart in the driver's seat, place the mind to the side, let it be the passenger, and let it follow directions from the heart. Let it follow guidance from the heart. In that shift, then we're able to actually lead with the feeling, lead with the knowing. The other piece in that is we also want to make sure that we are staying tuned in and checked in with how we feel as we move along. Because if we get into overwhelm, or if we get into fear, we get into confusion, that's probably because the ego mind has come in and tried to figure it out with us. And the ego is really good. I call it an overprotective helicopter parent, right? Trying to keep you safe, protected, playing small, It wants to, it just wants to be part of what you're doing all the time. But the challenge is it's all based on the foundation of fear. So it comes from, even if it's a cheerleader for you in that moment, it's coming from fear. So we don't want it to be, again, we want to place that aside and lead with the heart so that we can really lead with the feeling and the knowing crumbs, as opposed to figure out the whole plan. Mm-hmm. If we give the mind just enough understanding, it will let go. It will open and let go. It will stop trying and seeking. Now, this is a practice, but it will stop trying and seeking. So we give it just enough of an understanding to let go, and then we trust the heart and let it lead us breadcrumb by breadcrumb, step by step, moment by moment.
That was such a subtle but powerful point. Give your mind just enough so it feels comfortable. Almost what I'm hearing is like, let your mind know that there is something in charge, that the mind doesn't have to have it figured out. It's give it enough. It's almost like a child, right? Like give it enough so it feels that it's okay.
I hear you. I know you're afraid,
yeah.
And we're okay. We've got this. It's like we just need to focus on the step that's in front of us. Mm-hmm. And then the mind can let go. It's like, oh, okay, you don't need the next 100 steps. Okay, I'll stop planning for the moment, so I'll just enjoy the ride a little bit,
And it is a practice, isn't it? Because it's so easy for us to say it, but then putting it in a practice where most of the world is still so very practical and pragmatic and structured, and where we are moving. I mean, these conversations we are having are airing at the end of 23, and I know 24 is going to be a whole new different story that we are stepping into. And the next level of our evolution is like so present for us. And I believe that, and it's what I'm hearing from you, is that that's how we get to guide ourselves, is from this knowing in the heart, not having it figured out for retirement and a long time planning and all of that. Like all of that is going to be almost, at least as far as I can see, non-existent in where we are going. There is going to be a different way of planning for the future.
Definitely. And even the whole idea of planning for the future, it's like, when do we do that? We do it in the moment. So in the moment, if you're getting guidance around something, then follow the guidance. If you're not getting guidance, then there's no need to make any plans, right? So it's the same way if you're planning a trip and you need to book a ticket, you don't book the ticket when you're on the plane, you book the ticket now in the present moment, then you let it go. And then the next step comes in at whatever it's meant to be, whether you need a visa or little details, those things always are given. So we don't actually really plan for the future. We just stay present to the moment, and we're given the steps moment to moment. We are born naturally intuitive. We are that is our truth. That is our essence. That is who we are as these beautiful beings. And we're programmed to figure it out, to analyze, to think about it, to weigh the pros and cons, all of that. That's all left brain thinking. I often take people out of the left brain and into the right brain and go, okay, well, let's sink into the present moment, creative, present, deep, open, knowing side of the brain, where it just is like, okay, what now? The left brain is like, what next? What then? What happened? Where are we going? What's going on? Like, it's just like this loop, right? And it can be chaotic over there. We can retrain it not to be that way, but we're programmed to have it that way. Mm-hmm. So we get caught in these left brain loops, and the left brain loves to fill in the gap if there's any gap in the story. So we get the guidance from the heart, and then the left brain goes, okay, now we're going to figure this and this and this, and what happens, and why do we feel this way, and why are we feeling that? It's like, it's so chaotic, right? Yeah. And the world is, you can see it right now. It's all chaotic. Yeah. And this is what's unwinding. This is what's being undone. This is what's being unlearned. We're in a process of unschooling everything. And we are in the process of remembering how we forgot. And the forgetfulness is falling away, and the remembrance is coming in. But it's not coming in on the left side. It's not going to make sense over there. It's coming in. We can embrace it and nurture it on the right side of the brain, but really ultimately it's coming through the heart space. If that's our bridge to our divinity and our humanness, that's the connection, right? Yeah. And when we can remember that we know exactly what we're meant to be doing right now, and we follow it moment to moment, then it actually brings us so much peace. And there's, and yes, it is a practice. It's not like overnight, but it's way easier now than it was 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. So that's the gift. The way the global energies are changing,
Mm-hmm.
and the rate that we are in more of an accelerated frequency, and we're able to actually really move things really quickly. We're able to heal things really quickly. We're able to shift through layers really quickly. We don't have to go to 10 years of talk therapy to work through something. We can work through it in a moment. Some things we need support around. Some things take a little bit longer, but we're actually in a beautiful time where we can actually heal things in a holy instant. And I've seen it over and over again, and I've experienced it over and over again. And that does require us getting out of our heads, analyzing everything, getting into the hearts, and trusting. So we walk with deep trust and blind faith, but we're not afraid of that blind faith. It's actually quite exciting. It's more of an adventure.
Yeah. Oh, you just said so many beautiful things, Sue. So two things that I want to pull from what you just shared. One, I love how you just finished your sentence. It is an adventure. And I read Julia, her name completely escapes me. She wrote The Artist's Way, where she talked about it is a human nature to be in a constant adventure, to constantly expect something new, to create something new. And I think that's where we're going. So the other thing that you mentioned, so I'm going to try to pull these two together. Our mind fills in the blanks. So here we are talking about, I truly believe that we are downloading all new solutions for industries, for way of life, for healing, for teaching, for learning, for communicating, for transportation. I truly believe that in not so long of a future, the world will look very different. And we are the ones who are bringing in the solutions through our being, through our heart, as you just shared. But if I'm not aware, then my mind will fill in the blanks from what it knows in the past, and thus block the nuances of the new solutions.
Yeah.
Would you say?
We have all these filters, right? So we have all these programmed mental filters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I bypass the mind and go through the heart, because the heart doesn't have filters. My mind has filters based on what I think is possible, what I believe is possible, what has been possible, what has happened in the past, what I think is possible for the future. And then all of the programming else in between, like all of our own limitations, plus the limitations collectively that we believe, we're believing in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really where we're shifting in our consciousness as a collective, community of beings on this earth. We are essentially breaking barriers. And I keep calling it like the last break in consciousness. We're actually, the mind is going to break open in a way that it's never broken open before. And these new solutions are coming in, and if we trust them, they'll actually be all shown. And we'll again, moment to moment, breadcrumb by breadcrumb, one piece of the recipe at a time, will be given, will be shown, will be guided through it, and we'll be able to allow these things to come to fruition through us, but not with any mental filters. Mental filters are going to stop us. They're going to slow us down. They're going to drag it out. They're going to cause a lot of, suffering along the way if we hold on. So we've been so invested in our mental programming for so long. We can place that aside. I kept getting the message, abandon your mind. There's nothing there you need. I'm like, nothing? It's like, okay.
Are you sure?
That's kind of fun. Let's do that. So I tried that for a while, and it felt very freeing, right? Of course, it comes back in because it's purposeful. It's used, but it's certainly not, it doesn't have the answers. It definitely doesn't have the answers for what humanity needs to create this shift collectively.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. Oh, so beautifully said. Mind doesn't have the answers for what humanity needs for the shift that we are collectively going through. That's really beautiful. So let's shift a little bit, and maybe not. I love that you said, I'm using my own words, that it's the last step is for the mind to crack open. I actually use that phrase a little bit differently, and I use it as money is the last frontier. Our journey with money and abundance and prosperity, which has such a grip on humanity, I believe it's like the last place where we are hiding and trying to make sense of things and not abandoning our mind. So could you speak to, because I know that you have so much wisdom about that, how to align with abundance and align with resources that we need? We still live in a 3D world where we do need to eat and hopefully live under a roof and have access to healing and things like that. More and more healing that doesn't come through, in America at least, we pay for health insurance. And I believe that those of us who are awakening are realizing that's not the way to go. So we need money, we need resources. How do we align with the prosperity, with the abundance, while living through our heart and aligning with our mission?
Well, it all boils down to authentic abundance, right? So there's abundance, or there's prosperity, or there's money. That's a currency, but it's just an energy. Mm-hmm. I think money is energy. Mm-hmm. And I always say money is energy, and energy flows to me, through me, and around me and out. So it's like it comes in, it goes out. Wherever it's guided to go, it goes. Wherever it's guided to come in, it comes in, whenever. So I used to have a lot of poverty consciousness. I grew up single mom. My mom was a single mom with 3 kids, raising 3 kids. And we were paycheck to paycheck, or less than paycheck to paycheck. We always had a meal on the table, but Christmases were small. And so there was one Christmas I didn't think it was going to happen. We couldn't even get a tree. And then all of a sudden, this envelope showed up at the door with a big pile of cash in it. Like a group of people, we don't even know who to this day, just delivered a gift to my mom so that we could have a Christmas, right? So it's like this prosperity, or these authentically aligned, abundant moments. I've seen them over and over in my life, but I grew up in poverty consciousness. It took me a while to unplug from that poverty consciousness. So it's basically a morphic field. If you imagine like a big bubble of beliefs, and everybody kind of believes in poverty consciousness. Yeah. Many of us are plugged into it, especially right now. It's like there's inflation, there's this, and there's a lot of fear. So people are plugging into it. And then the prosperity consciousness, the other morphic field that's available to us, is people are abandoning that because there's so much evidence that it's a problem. I'm not abandoning it because I don't believe that poverty consciousness is our future as a whole. Yeah. I believe prosperity consciousness is more in alignment, and everyone can plug into it, everyone, but it needs to be authentic, because there's a lot of people out there that are using money for power and control and all these kinds of things. And that's getting revealed. It's getting actually brought to the surface and very clearly revealed in a lot of ways. So there's kind of a breaking down of some structures. That's a good thing, although it's uncomfortable. It stretches us, right? The more we can align with our soul's mission, the more everything is provided when we need it. So I always say when it's guided, it's provided. If we have a vision, there must be provision for it. So it doesn't matter what it is. If you're in alignment, if you're authentically doing what you came here to do, fulfilling your mission, all of your needs will be met. If you have a filter in your mind of poverty consciousness, or you don't believe you deserve, or you're not worthy, all those kinds of things, they need to be cleared, because otherwise you will override the guidance that's coming in, the money, the energy that's coming in. So it's a little twofold, right? It's like, yes, align with it, and yes, watch your thoughts. Unplug from poverty consciousness. Don't buy into it. Not just in your own mind, but in the world as well. See the abundance that's around us. Witness it, recognize it. And if you're going to the grocery store, I had these thoughts a few times. I'm like, I'm really grateful for the abundance that's flowing in right now for me. And at the same time, I'm aware that there's other people that aren't experiencing that. They're going to the grocery store and they were already struggling, and how are they going to pay $2 more for milk? So in those moments where I have those thoughts, I don't let myself be pulled into a wormhole. I ask in that moment, is there guidance? Is there something I'm guided to do? Is that why that's coming in? Or is there something left over that is bumping up against my own fear when I remember when I couldn't afford to buy milk? So I check in that moment, and I use that trigger in that moment to go, okay, is it something left over in me, or is there actually guidance coming through here? Am I meant to buy some milk and, or pay for someone's groceries beside me? Like, how am I to then extend that gift of abundance that I have for others. So it's in those moments where we really can use it as a lesson in prosperity consciousness instead of a wormhole of poverty consciousness.
Oh, that was so beautiful and so practical in a way, because it is in those moments, right? At least in my experience, and I'm hearing that in yours as well, that it's in those moments that we make those choices that either plug us back into the poverty consciousness or plug us back into the prosperity, which is already our natural place where we get to be, source of where we get to be plugged into. Asking, what is there here for me right now? Is there an action for me to take? Should I be doing something, or is it just a memory I'm bumping up against? Yeah. And I think that increasingly so, people are in that conversation of feeling guilt and shame because they have and others don't. I mean, as you know, humanitarian crises are happening and will, I think, increasingly happen as the old collapses. We will be, our attention and our energy and our heart will try to be stolen by what's happening versus plugging into our natural abundance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you. That was a beautiful, practical way to connect to that and be in those moments. How do you, because there is always this practical aspect of money comes in, and most of us have businesses. Our audience either have businesses or we look to create something that will be the funnel of money. How do you do it? How do you manage it for yourself, where there are strategic things that we get to do, promises we make, commitments we make, but at the same time, we are in the flow of when it's guided, it's going to happen?
Well, it's interesting because it is about allowing and being open. That's the feminine kind of, divine receiving.
Yeah.
But there is the application as well. There's the masculine kind of movement and inspired action, but it's inspired action. It's not me doing all of these things for the sake of doing them because this person did it and it works. And, we take a lot of these different marketing strategies and do this funnel and da-da-da. It's so much doing. If you're going to do something and it's guided, by all means do it. But consider how you are being in the doing. If you are being busy, frantic, trying to figure it out, it's like feeling stressful, then it's probably not aligned, or maybe you need some support with it, or maybe you're not meant to do it at all. And if you are like clear, yes, this is guided, and yes, it's a little stretchy or a little uncomfortable, but it's guided, then you move through it with more of a sense of purpose, knowing that it's actually for you and for all, for you to be taking these steps. But for me, it comes back down to, is this guided? 1, 2, is this still guided? Because we can get a lot of spiritual redirects right now. We can go towards something, get a little piece, and then the universe is like, okay, you got it. Let go of that. We need you over here. There's so many quick like pivots right now because we're tapping into the 4th and 5th dimension. So we're actually reading and sensing and getting information from what the collective needs, not just us individually. So more so than ever before, we can get these pivots. So is it guided? Is it still guided? When you feel a little resistant, ask again, is it still guided? Yes. Okay. And how am I feeling about this? Can I process my triggers, use it for my healing, clear my leftovers? And then, what is the inspired action? How am I being in the inspired action as well? How are you being? Are you being peace, love, a healing presence? What kind of presence are you being? That's really important. How we are being in the doing will not only change our experience of it, but will also create a ripple effect that other people will feel, because we are all vibrational tuning forks. So there was a lot in that.
There was so much goodness in it. And I love especially what you said, because I think this will support a lot of people. We may be very quickly redirected in the moment. So sometimes people have this story of like, I don't abandon what I commit to, or I don't abandon once I start, I'm going to finish it, this old belief. And I don't necessarily think it's wrong, but if you are redirected and it's still guided, then trust that and don't make yourself wrong for shifting and changing direction if that's what's needed through you for the collective. There was a lot of permission in that.
I get a lot of spiritual redirects, and I'm seeing a lot of people getting a lot of spiritual redirects. And that's where the mind comes in. So you get the vision, you get, okay, I'm moving in this direction. You know, even with my last book, I'll share that part. It's like, I had the vision, I had guest authors were coming in. It was like all moving, and then all of a sudden it all just stopped. Nothing. I had no words, nothing. I was like, okay, I'm trusting. I let it go. I offer it back over. If there's something I'm to do, show me. I don't let it, I used to, but I don't let it stir and weigh on me and kind of question it. I'm just like, okay, it's to be let go of. And then a whole bunch of personal stuff happened, which actually led to like so many miracles around the book. And it was just like, in hindsight, looking back, it took longer than I thought it would to write it. But all of those redirects were so purposeful and so tender and raw and juicy and like purpose, like just it served such a grand purpose in so many ways. And then the book came out just with divine timing, right? So yeah, we have to be willing to allow, you know, our divinity to lead us and animate us in our humanness, because in our human perspective, it's so limited. We don't see the big picture, but our divine essence, our divine spirit knows exactly what's needed and is orchestrating everything on behalf of everyone, everywhere, everything all together, all at once. So if we actually trust that, then we're actually serving at the highest level. The more you can follow your guidance, the more you know you're serving at the highest level.
Oh, we are almost ready to wrap up, and I'm like, oh, this is such a beautiful place. Your heart chakra is such a beautiful place too. Like, I love being in a space with you because I can feel how delicious your heart chakra is.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping our audience are getting that as well. So I'm like, oh, can we just play a little longer in this space because it just feels so good. So as we wrap up, I'll ask you for one insight, anything that's coming in about what would you say to people who sometimes might use that redirect. They will allow the fear to feel like a redirect when it's really the fear and something to clear, but keep moving forward. But they'll say it's a
tricksy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I call divine discernment. So we need to be divinely discerning each moment that we're feeling. Like, if we're feeling, what I often say is, resistance is the gap between what the mind knows and what the mind thinks and what the heart knows. Resistance is the gap between what the mind thinks and what the heart knows. So if the gap between the heart and the mind is greater, it's going to be more resistance, more intense, more uncomfortable, more of a stretch. So again, it goes back to, okay, what is the mind telling me and what is my heart knowing? So we go back into the heart space and go, okay, what am I meant to be doing in this moment? Keep going, like keep taking the step, even though it's uncomfortable, even though there's fear, we're meant to keep going. And if we tune into the heart, it's like, I need you over here. We got to redirect. We got to turn left here. Then you'll know. But again, it comes back down to get quiet, take a breath, get out of the head, down into the heart space. Whatever tool you can use, there's lots of different tools to do that. I like to use an elevator for clients, but it just depends on the individual. And even placing your hand on your heart is helpful. It's just like, what now? What now? Not what next? What if? Just what now in this moment? And you'll get breathe maybe, or just feel, or shh. Like sometimes I get a shh, or just quiet my mind. So when you go to the heart space, then you tune in and you feel, how do I feel? I feel fear. Okay, underneath that fear is their guidance. Yes, I'm meant to keep going. Then keep going. I'm feeling fear. Is there guidance to pivot? Yes. I'm afraid to pivot. You might be afraid to pivot, right? We don't always know. So that's the best, again, going back to the feeling is the best advice I can get, because the discernment is not about, let me think about this and figure this out. It's about, let me feel into this and see how I feel when I imagine myself continuing on this path, or I imagine myself being open to a redirect. How do I feel about those paths? And you'll get clear. You'll get more clear.
So beautiful. So you have shared so much with us. You have gifted us with so much insight and experience. I am having a tangible experience in my body, cellular shifting in my heart space. It's just so beautiful. Thank you for everything you have given us. And I know you still have a gift. So could you tell us what our audience can find? There is a button below the video. And when they click the button, what can they find?
Yeah, so I offer a live experience, usually once a month, where you can sign up for free and join me for a live experience. I take everybody through an activation, a healing experience, and then I open it up for some free intuitive readings because I'm an intuitive healer and a coach. So I open it up to some readings and just get messages for people and share or work with their energies and help them move and clear things in their body. So that's the experience if you feel drawn to join me for a live experience.
That's really beautiful. So make sure you click the button, go to Sue's website and sign up so you can be on the list to get information for the next live experience. And you're going on a beautiful solo journey. So to be with you in the experience after the journey, I would assume, or during the journey.
Yeah, the next live experience will be on the other side of my solo mission. So my
Yeah.
solo mission is 30 days of unplugging from everything, all communication. I've never done that before in over 30 years of running my own businesses. And so this will be, yeah, it's very clearly guided. So I don't know what's going to happen on the other side, but yeah, if you want to join me on my live experience, I can
Yes.
definitely share.
Oh,
what
that'll be amazing because this will actually air, this conversation will air soon after you are complete with your 30 days. So it'll be perfect. So by the time you are watching this, make sure you get on Sue's website and put your name on to get the information because you will be receiving what is on the other side of her solo journey. I'm excited for that for you.
Me too. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited and at the same time, like, yeah, it's a little bit, there's a lot of just logistics and, being away from
Yes.
my family for a whole month is, there's things you got to put in place. So I'm in the process of
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine and things that could happen while you are away and truly unplugged. Wow. It's, yeah, all of that. So trusting your heart,
Yes,
divinely
very
guided.
much.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for being here in the salon, sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate you. Thank you. And you make sure, again, click the button, go on Sue's website, sign up for the next live experience, and we'll see you at the next conversation. Bye for now.